My name's Dennis Kulkeva, and I'm very happy to present to you our first work package of the policy recommendations block, which will be about the impact of corporate social responsibility initiatives on citizen and stakeholder attitudes and behavior towards a green economy. This work package will be treated by Professor Thomas Bernauer and his research group at ETH Zurich, in which I am a PhD student. So to start you off, I'd like to show you this brief excerpt from the BAFU report to the Swiss government, which reads, thank you, which reads that we don't only need good framework conditions, but we also have to motivate companies to take voluntary measures, to enter into voluntary agreements, and to help substantially thus reduce the environmental impacts caused by the products that we consume in Switzerland. When I say voluntary measures, I will use that term exchangeably for now with CSR, corporate social responsibility, and we will probably be able to debate that in more detail in the poster sessions. So the big research question that we are interested in is how we design and link, on the one hand, voluntary private sector CSR initiatives and government regulation, on the other hand, in ways that motivate both firms and consumers to improve their environmental behavior. I know this is a very broad question, so we'd like to disentangle that a bit. So first of all, we're interested in a typology of CSR initiatives. So what criteria, what features are important to people when they judge CSR as either credible or environmentally effective? And then we're interested in seeing how these CSR initiatives affect the incentives of stakeholders to push for or refrain from pushing for government regulation. And we'd really like to sum that as some sort of demand for government monitoring or standard setting. Now, when I say stakeholders, I'm talking about NGOs, I'm talking about policymakers, private economy participants, and of course, our consumers and citizens. Last but not least, we'd like to see how environmental corporate social responsibility initiatives affect environmental attitudes, especially in terms of political attitudes, and citizens and consumers' behavior. Now, if we are to jam these research questions into an actual design, we have our independent variable on the top left, which is environmental corporate social responsibility, which we're going to experimentally manipulate, which includes, of course, varying the industry that we're discussing. And on the right-hand side, you see our dependent variables, which are environmental awareness, environmental policy support, and environmental consumption. Now, the method that allows us to look into these matters is the survey experiment. So we take our pool of participants, we assign them randomly to scenarios or so-called treatments of, I just put high and low environmental corporate social responsibility to keep it simple. And then we will ask them about, for instance, environmental policy support, or we'll give them policy choices, which one they'd prefer. And we compare across these treatments and see if there are significant effects. Now, of course, it's sometimes a bit difficult in this kind of setting to ask the why question. So we will hold focus group meetings with the stakeholders that I mentioned before to actually get a bit more grip on the incentives of the stakeholders and to discuss a bit more deeply. For those that don't know what a focus group is, it's a qualitative data collection in form of a moderated discussion with one of the researchers. Okay, so if we want to wrap this up, so our goal is to work with stakeholders, with government stakeholders to improve environmental policy design, to work with firm and private economy stakeholders to critically appraise the environmental voluntary initiatives that already exist, and by assessing or working with both of these stakeholders to actually advise fruitful synergies between the private and the public sector. So those two hands actually reaching across. And of course, it is our vision to encourage pro-environmental attitudes and behavior among consumers and citizens with our research. Thank you for listening.